Hicks. Today's date is 10/10/23, and we're at Gathering Place, and this is a Bucyrus Union or Bucyrus Erie reunion. This is a 39th reunion, and I'm probably wrong on that, but I started in 1980 or so. So these are all the participants. We have 31 participants today, and not all of them work there, but some of them, their spouses did. Okay, now, Shirley, what did your husband like about the plant? Speak up.
Bucyrus was always a very good company to work for. Lee was very proud to work there. He started when he graduated from high school, and he worked until he went into the service, and he was gone for about 3 or 4 years in the service, and when he came back, Bucyrus Erie had his job waiting for him, and we always really appreciated what they did.
Okay, what she said, and you're going to have to speak up because people are hard of hearing. I'm hard of hearing. Her husband had a job at Bucyrus. He went to the Army for 4 years, came back, and they kept his job. And she said Bucyrus Erie was a good place to work. What did he do there?
He ended up, well, he worked up, but when he retired, when the Bucyrus closed, he was in the powerhouse.
Right. So he's in the powerhouse. They had their own powerhouse. So they shoved the coal in there and made energy.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Any other comment? And were you glad to be a spouse of somebody who worked there? Did he get home on time?
Always, always.
What's your favorite meal for him? Bacon and eggs?
Well, hamburger.
Hamburger, okay. All right, we're going to have Elizabeth Daly. Now, Mr. Daly's been to all these reunions. This is his spouse, and they brought her daughter with her, too.
Yeah.
This is Rose Norman right here. So both of them are here. Now, tell us, Elizabeth, you got to speak up. You got to talk that direction.
Okay, I can talk to you back there, okay?
Okay, you got to speak up. Now, tell us what Mr. Daly liked the most and what he did there.
Well, okay, he started working out in the machine shop, and Bill Kinslow taken and broke him in. He said he was the best person. Then he went to the powerhouse, and Lee Hicks was his boss, and he said he was the best boss he ever had. And he said he enjoyed being there. He said that he got tired carrying his box out because he got laid off. Got laid off, but he went back every time. And his father worked there, Jim Daly.
So 2 generations, Jim and your husband. Jim, the dad, and your husband.
Yeah, his dad worked there. His dad was a crane operator. And Jack said he didn't like heights, so he said, I don't want to be up there. So, but he did enjoy being where he worked at.
What was the powerhouse? Can somebody define the powerhouse? Is that where they burnt the coal?
Yeah, they brought the coal in, and he had to take and blow the whistle every 11 and 12.
11, 12.
Yeah.
Okay. So he told him when lunch was. The whistle was for lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Miss Daly?
I can't think of anything else, but he just enjoyed it.
Thank you for coming today.
For 31 years, I do know that.
31 years, yeah.
And I had him for 63 and a half years.
Okay, good. Thank you. Stand up. Okay, this is, say your whole name. Sarah Hodges. And who was your other half, Sarah?
Well, my father was
Speak loudly.
My father was Lee Hicks, and I never heard him complain about having to go to work. He loved his job. He drove from Boonville to the west side of Evansville for many, many years. I don't think he missed very many days of work. We were grateful for what they provided to us as a family, and we were doing very good. So it was just a great place to work, and he enjoyed going to work every day and met a lot of good friends, and we still stayed friends with a lot of them.
So if he drove from Boonville to the west side, he'd go by that railroad track down the center of Division every day. About got run over by the train.
And that was before the Lloyd.
Before the Lloyd, yes.
Yeah, before the Lord, yeah.
Okay, now we have the Hope Gibson family here. Mr. Gibson, why don't you stand up, tell us what you did. He got a hat there. Everybody look at that hat. That's called a Bucyrus Erie hat. Nobody else is wearing one. Harold's got some at home. Okay, tell us what you did, Mr. Gibson.
My name's Richard Gibson, and I started out there in the machine shop as a radio arm drill operator. And I was there one Christmas, and when I first started out, I worked third shift. And I was running the drill press. I hadn't been there very long. And I got thinking, man, this place is awful quiet. There's nobody doing anything. I'm the only one running the machine. So I shut it off and started looking around for people and see where everybody had gone to. Well, I found him, and we had a supervisor called Mac McCoy. And everybody was in his office.
We lost surveillance, we lost in-car tracking, we lost
Anywhere I found everybody in Mac McCoy's office and went in there and I said, what's going on? And they said, well, we're celebrating Christmas Eve. And every one of them in there was drunk as a skunk. There wasn't a sober one in the place, I swear to God there wasn't. And then I went over into maintenance and I worked for Lee when he became a supervisor in maintenance. And one time I was working under the powerhouse where all the pumps and everything were. And you'd go down there and it was really warm. And the pumps running and humming along and that stuff. And I was down there to repack them. And, you know, sometimes things just kind of get to you, I guess. And the next thing I knew, Lee was standing over me and he said, Richard, wake up, wake up. And the warmth and the noise down there, I just kind of relaxed and went to sleep. I don't know how long I was down there, but it must have been long enough for him to
Find you.
miss me and decide, hey, better come find me where I'm at and that stuff. But I worked in maintenance as a repair mechanic, and I'm telling you, it was a wonderful place to work, as all you people know. It was just absolutely, everybody was friends with everybody. Nobody tried to
Right over you.
do anything with anybody or try to be mean or get anything on anybody else. And if you people can find some of the maturity magazines that have been out, the last two of them were out, both of them had big write-ups about Bucyrus and during the strike that was out there at Bucyrus. And it told about people that had to be escorted in by state police. And the state police even built a tunnel and lined both sides of the street so guys that wanted to work in there could go in and go to work if they wanted to. And there was really a lot of upheaval about it, and it was a pretty rough situation in that. And the governor, I think of the state at that time, was threatening to call in the military, National Guard, to protect people going in and out of there to work. And if you can find those magazines, I've got both of them. And it's quite an interesting article to read and everything. And there was a lot of damage done, a lot of people really hated one another afterwards. And it eventually calmed down and everybody forgot about everybody else. But there was strike breakers, and my wife's dad worked out there, and he crossed the picket line and went into work. But at those times, you had to do what you had to do to feed your family. So,
What year was that, Mr. Gibson, about? In the 50s?
oh, no, it was back in 40s.
48.
Yeah, 48, I think it was.
48.
Those were rough times. In fact, the two people that were involved in the union at that time, the ones that kind of instigated the strike, were eventually arrested up in St. Louis, and they were both associated with the Communist Party at that time.
I think that was one.
And they were arrested, finally, I don't know what all they were charged with, probably. You know, being agents for a foreign country and spies, and Lord knows what all, I don't know. But they had a lot to do with instigating that strike, and had a lot to do with making it really rough. And then they left, and like I say, were arrested in Missouri.
Was that the only strike that there ever was?
The question is that the only strike there ever was there?
There was one walkout back in 60-something. And there was a bunch of guys that just, I think they decided they wanted to have a day vacation or something. So they just walked out and were on the outside. At that time, I was in supervision. And I supervised over on the erecting floor, same as Jerry Cunningham and I were over there at the same time. And we had a good time when we were over there. Probably better than we should have. But it was a great company to work for. And anybody that worked there has a lot to be thankful for. Kept your family fed, and paid all the bills, and it was just dependable, always there. And it's a shame it's gone now.
What union were you in, and where did your union hall, where did you meet?
I'm sorry.
What union were you in, and where was the union
We
hall?
were in the machinist. At that time of the strike, they were in the electrical workers union. Now, there's two different types of electrical workers. There's the IBEW, which is the International Group of Electrical Workers, which my son has been a member of. And then there was the electrical workers, and that's what they were involved in. And that union, I think, is completely defunct now. It's not even around or anything anymore. And they were so involved in getting that strike started and that stuff, and then these people, like I say, were eventually arrested over there. But there was a lot of rough time out there during that strike. There was a lot of people that were attacked, there was fights, they had a lot of damage done to surrounding areas. Some of the people that lived across the street from it that worked there, they wouldn't let them go in and kept the guys out and everything like that. It was just, at that point, it was just a really bad time.
Where did you guys hold your union meetings at?
Where were your
Your union meetings, where did you hold your union meetings at?
Oh, we held our union meetings at Union Hall right across the street from it.
I thought he was gonna say the superintendent.
Oh, we had a lot of them down there.
What year did Bucyrus start being a part of the union, and were they all the way till 1982?
Well, they
grade
were
four?
always a member of the union, and when I went to work there, they were in the machinist union at that time. And like he said, we'd go down to the super inn, Lee and Earl Wittenheimer and I, and we'd go down there on Friday nights and have a few fish bowls of beer and that. Had a good time. We kind of all went out of there sometimes stepping pretty high to keep from falling. I'll let somebody else tell their stories and that stuff about it.
We'll go over it. How about your son, or your dad, he worked there too. He worked at a machine shop. When did he start there? What year? And what year did he retire from there?
No idea.
But in the 30s, probably?
Probably.
Uh-huh.
He was there for a long time, and he retired from there, so he was probably there 40 years.
And define everybody what the machine shop is. Is that where you would make make some of these like shovels and things? You tell us what a machine shop would do.
Well, some of you all, I'm sure, worked in it, some maybe not. But it's where everything was machined to go in machines or into the finished product. Like I said, when I first started out there, I ran a drill press, and it was a multiple head drill press, and it would come down and drill so many holes in an object and that stuff. And then you deburr it and everything, throw it in a bucket or a parts tub to go over to place to be put into the parts assembly line and that, you know. And the machine shop machined everything. We had a planer out there that, I'm not kidding you, I could set any one of your cars in it and set it on the planer bed and start running it back and forth, planed it down to nothing but chips. It was that huge. And they made huge parts of machinery. And if you all want to see one of the big machines that was built around here, if you'll go up to Boonville, go around the square, and Shirley, what's the name of that road that machine's up? It's that gravel road. Can you remember it?
You go out, where you go. you
Go past
north.
your house.
You go north.
Yeah.
Out there on 62.
Yeah,
Towards Linville.
yeah. You
Is it
know,
Boar?
What's the name of it?
yeah, it's boar, like wild boar, like pig. And you go up that way, and it's a good gravel road. There's a few bumps in it. But you can go up that way, and when you make the left-hand turn, you look up the hill, and you'll see the boom sticking up in the air.
Yeah.
That's the one they built up there at, was it Peabody Coal Mine?
Squaw Creek.
Squaw Creek.
Squaw Creek, yeah. And they had to dig all the way down to bedrock to build that machine. Janet and I went up there several times while they were constructing it and built it, but they had to dig all the way down to bedrock, or otherwise the weight of the machine would have just kept sinking it down in there. So that's where they built it was, and it's a walking drag line. A lot of you guys know what walking drag lines are, so. But if you want to see one, and it's still in excellent condition. I mean, it's still really, and it's not hard for you to drive up there. Just be a little bit careful of the gravel road, you don't hit a deer or something. But go up and take a look at it if you can. You know, and if you need directions, give me a call, I'll tell you how to go up there. If you don't have a way and you're really dead set on seeing it, call me, I'll take you up there. So you can see it.
And,
A lot of you guys have a big part in building it.
and Mr.
Building parts and work and everything.
And Mr. Gibson Jr., what was it like being a Bucyrus Erie family? Did it teach you some things?
Yeah, self-sufficiency. First of all, thank you guys for me being here today and stuff. And I grew up knowing a lot of you guys. Lee and Earl and a bunch of them and stuff we were always around with their families and stuff, and always had a good time. My grandfather, you know, after he retired, all I can pretty much remember about him is he hated kids. So, but I can remember growing up, Bucyrus Erie was kind of a family-friendly place too. Guys would bring their kids in and stuff and show them around, and it was just a really neat place. And my dad said that earlier that I'm a member of the IBW, there's a place up towards Princeton, the HMC company on the highway. When Bucyrus Erie closed down finally, they bought a lot of the prints and stuff, and they make a lot of the replacement gears and some replacement parts and ship them all over the world to keep these BE cranes running. And these BE cranes are running all over the world still. I mean, they're just great machines and stuff, and they were built for longevity. You know, so like everybody here, you guys are all built for longevity, so that's why you're all here. So,
What's HMC stand for?
Highway Machine Company.
Highway Machine Company. Up near, on the way to Princeton?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
up there by Toyota.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Now, we have a bathroom here, and if it's too hot in here, we can turn the cooler down, or we'll go to this next table, and we can come back to you if you got other things you forgot to say.
Did everybody, I was trying to pass some cookies around while I can take your trash and you can.
Okay, so we're gonna talk to Randy and Mrs. Tolley here. Randy, where did you work? And speak up and speak loudly if we can.
I work in the machine shop that Richard mentioned, and this is like what he said, all the small parts, we get orders of 50, 60, whatever, and we make them. I worked on a lathe, an engine lathe. We could take chrome cylinders, 20-foot long, chrome shafts, 20-foot long. We turn down the input threads on them so they can put something, screw something on the end of it. And I worked CNC machines, turret lathes out there. Might be the youngest person here, I don't know. I started in '78, and then lasted till they closed down. I remember Dick Foreman, Dalrymple, Mrs. Del Dalrymple, I think his name, and Dan Tucker, I remember him.
Yeah.
And I also worked in the hydraulic shop. They had the CNC machines in the hydraulic shop also. And, yeah,
Red Cat Doll, he was a fellow up there.
the honing machine, so yeah, I didn't run that. Machine shop had bays, bay 2, 3, 4, 5, and different bay numbers, and they had different machines in different bays. And it was I wish it was still going on.
Thank you.
Well, we made these little parts and color some memorabilia over there, but we'd make a part, we'd stamp it, so we knew, I brought my stamp, and so we knew who made it, and if it was made wrong, we'd come back and get us. And then some tool checks, I've seen these, I don't think I've seen them. Tool checks, we check out a micrometer or whatever tool we had needed in the machine in the tool cribs. We'd give them a tag, and they know who had it.
What's your stamp number?
269.
302.
8840 was my badge number, and the stamp was 269.
8328 is my name.
Hold those up again so I can see them against the wall. And describe that, describe it, hold it up in the air, hold it up, like there. Say what it is.
It's a brass tool check, and it's got a number on it that says Bucyrus, Erie, and you check out a micrometer, or whatever you need it, and they take the micrometer off and put one of these little brass tags on it. And then if we made it apart, we put a stamp on it. This is a metal stamp, and hit it with a hammer, and it make an impression of the number.
Of your name or your number?
Number.
Your number.
269. You can't see the number, but
Okay.
269.
Okay.
So we made a good part, we put a stamp on it.
Made it bad or not?
If you look at Port Hueneme, California, it is a home, it has a 100,000 square foot museum there, and it's a CB museum, their best museum. And in front of it has a Bucyrus Erie shovel, and it says Bucyrus Erie. So I imagine some of you made shovels or parts to a shovel for bulldozers and things, but it's sitting in front of one of the best museums in the country out there. Probably made it, it was made at Bucyrus. I don't know if we made it here or one of the other plants. Okay, Norman, stand up and tell us what you did there.
I worked at Bucyrus Erie. My voice is not too good, so I'll make it short. I worked there about 31 years in the machine shop, and in about the last 8 years, I was in the quality control department. Great place to work. I had a lot of good friends. Unfortunately, a lot of them are not with us today. And most recently, Bob Crussell.
Yeah.
And I reflect on on the strike. I don't know if you people are aware, there's a recent article published in the Maturity Journal about Bucyrus Erie. In 1948, they had, before I started there in 1951, they had a major strike. And I don't know whether some of these people read the article or not, but they're told all about it. It was a major strike. And they settled it. They had to call in the National Guard and the state police and everybody. So anyway, thank you.
But Norman and Mr. Carresso were quality control. So Mr. Carresso would always talk about people didn't like him very much because it rejects some things. And also he timed everybody, and you had to do it in a certain amount of time. So you timed things to make sure that people were efficient. Did you do that too?
What's that?
About timing people and getting the products out and also quality.
Yeah,
Did you flunk a lot of these people? Flunk them?
I think Bob was in, in engineering, wasn't he? In
Yeah.
Time study and all
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
So you couldn't sit down and goof off because Bob was off to you.
All Bucyrus was set up on the incentive system. Most all jobs, not all jobs. Indirect labor was not on the incentive system, but all direct labor was on the incentive system. Then you had to make the rates. Yeah. Some jobs were good jobs, some jobs weren't. Bob knows that. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, stand up, sir. Mr. Cunningham.
Why?
Stand up and tell us what you did there. Are you
As little as possible.
he's a smart idiot. Tell us your name and what year you started there and when you left.
My name's Tom Emmer. I started there in '62 on my birthday, and I guess I got hired between Benny and John Rink. I worked in the parts department most of the time. I did some dispatching. I would say one of the most unusual things to a point, I was one time was in charge of checking missing stock. You'd be surprised how many whiskey bottles are in those bins. As I understand it, if this was before my time, that Jimmy Jordan come around and you didn't have a drink, you were in trouble. And I guess that's about it. I quit on I was there 23 years, went to work on my birthday. I quit on my birthday when I moved to Erie. Moved back when it started going downhill.
A couple questions. One of the previous people that talked about they were in charge of dispersing things in World War II, and they would be able to call the train system to get things in and out. Did you work with trains or mostly trucks getting things in?
I'm not old.
I know. I mean, but did it change? I was referring to somebody else. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, you didn't work with the trains. Mostly trucks brought things in and out.
Here again, still no. I just worked in the parts department, and I worked checking inventory. I guess you could say some trucks might have come in when they closed the Richmond plant, but other than that, no. That's still a little bit before my time.
Did parts come from International Steel or Mesker Steel, or just all parts of the country?
As far as I know, other than what we had to purchase, we made everything. I said there were a lot of small other items that came from other manufacturers. It could be just about anybody where you got a good price or a good quality on it. And I guess that's the way it was. The other thing I can say, the only thing I really learned from it was a good work ethic and a lot of nice people. Thank you.
What kind of whiskey bottles did you find? Mostly Jim Beam, or was it other ones?
Mostly empty.
Mostly empty. Gentlemen, stand up at the end, front and center here. Say right here. Turn around and tell us what you did. Stand up, front and center.
Well,
say your name loudly, clearly.
Maurice Conrad.
Maurice Conrad, and when did you work at Bucyrus? What year to what year?
I forget what year and what year.
Okay, that's all right, I do too.
It was 21 years altogether.
Okay, yeah. What department?
I worked in the well bay. I was a welder.
So you got any vision left? Did you wear your glasses, or did you burn your glasses and eyes out?
Both.
Both, okay, yeah. How many, so in the 60s and 70s you worked there?
Yeah,
I
guess.
guess. What'd you like the most about it?
Well, one thing I liked about it is you could come in, take your clothes off and hang them up in the locker, put your work clothes on, and then at the end of the shift you take your work clothes off, take a shower, clean yourself up, put your work other clothes on and leave.
Wow. Well, thank you for coming today. You come next year too. We're gonna have this again, okay?
Okay.
Better food or the same food? I don't know. Mr. Cunningham, this is Steve, and he worked there during school, and he didn't work as long as his brother. But can you tell us a little bit about things, Steve?
Well, I worked as long as he did, but I didn't work as hard as he did. But no, I started, like a lot of these guys, at a machine shop, on the radial drill, and then went to different machines throughout the machine shop, over in the light machine shop. I did run that noisy home sometimes at night, so it got noisy over there. But it's a great place to work, great people. Talking about time studies and rates, Steve was the guy you had to watch out for over Steve Helfrey, because he did the time studies. And then also, when they come out with a new product or something changed, most of our machines were numerically controlled, and Steve made the tapes for them. So when he come down with a new tape, everybody's a little gun shy. Punch holes were in the right spot. So, but it'd get exciting if it didn't. But no, it was a great people, great place to work. I started in 77. 73. And then went in field service in 77. So kind of moved out, and then they closed the plant there. And so when I did that, I switched to the mining division up in Milwaukee. So, but it was always, and a lot of the people were back and forth in between the two plants, and got to, it was one of the guys I started with there, Tim Sullivan, wound up being CEO of the company. and you could walk in the CEO's office and sit down and talk with them. It's just a personable company like that, and it was the same way in Evansville. You know, anybody that you met, you made friends with, so it was a great place to work. And
Can you tell us a little bit about the three companies, the one in Erie, the one in Milwaukee, and the one here, and what type of products they made, large, medium, and small?
Milwaukee was the mining division, and they made all the large drag lines and stuff. We made up to the 88B here in Evansville.
Medium size?
Yes, yeah. Erie was more of the smaller hydraulic machines. It had limited capacity on what it could build, and that was part of the problem when they closed Evansville and went to Erie. They didn't have the capacity to do the bigger machines. So, so that hurt them, and that's when they finally got out of the construction business. So,
How was your adjustment moving from here to Milwaukee? What was Milwaukee like? About the same as Evansville or different?
It's quite a bit different. I mean, everything, you know, all those machines are manufactured in pieces and shipped out. It would take anywhere from 12 to 18 months to erect one of those machines. So it wasn't like here, you know, you built the machine, you drove it out of the plant, and it was just a whole different scenario up there. You know, it'd take you a year and a half, 2 years to make all the parts, and then another year and a half to put it all together. So it was a much different process. But,
In today's day and age with Caterpillar and Hitachi and some other places, do they mass produce a lot of these things that you handmade at Bucyrus?
In the construction type equipment, yes. The mining, they're still pretty much a custom-made machine because it does take so long to make them. You know, you sit down with a customer and you work out how deep the coal is, how much overburden you got to move, how far you got to haul it, everything like that. So it all, you know, most of the big machines are custom made. So we had a company over in Missouri that bought three 2570 100-yard drag lines on a right in a row, and they were all three different. Just the engineering changed from year to year and upgrades and stuff like that. So they're pretty much a custom machine as opposed to assembly type machine. So it was quite a different scenario.
One of your bosses was a guy named Tom Burville. He was up in Milwaukee, then he came to Evans, I believe, and then he's now in Florida. His health is failing a little bit.
Yeah.
He's a friend of my wife and mine. So he was your boss for a while or something?
He was a foreman in a machine shop. Dick Gold was one of my foremen on third shift in the machine shop, and a lot of good guys. You know, it was fun to work there. So.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna, before I go to his brother and before I go to Mr. Leagues, I'm gonna get Harold here because if he feels badly in a little while, I don't wanna miss him. This is Harold Pettis right here. Now you don't have to stand, Harold. Now Harold is, what year are you born and what city are you born in, Harold?
Born in Slaughter, Kentucky.
And why did, he was born in Slaughter, Kentucky about 1925?
25.
Yeah. And so you're 99, 98. Okay. And can you tell us what you did in World War II and then why you went to Bucyrus, Erie? Did you work at Bucyrus here before World War II or after World War II?
After World War II. Started in 1948.
48,
And stayed
okay.
with them till it closed.
Till it closed in 84, 82, something like that?
80.
80, okay. So what'd you do at the plant there, Harold?
I promised all the repair orders that came through, I had to tell the customer what day we'd be able to ship those repair orders.
Most of the stuff was repaired on the site. A lot of it was sent out to the field and you had a repairman fix things because these cranes weren't brought back. So you sent supplies to the field to fix these cranes. So how'd they call you? Just call you on the phone or telegraph you to tell you what they needed?
Right.
Now, tell them how big a gun you shot in World War II. The bullet was about 155 millimeters.
No, I was on the 8-inch out there.
8 inch.
Bigger, yeah.
Okay. 8 inches, about like that. Okay, 8-inch gun.
Weighs 200, the missiles weigh 200 pounds.
10 people would run his machine. 10, they would drag it around with a Jeep. and it was like a big cannon. 10 people and to supply, put the gunpowder in there. It was about, how many pounds of gunpowder?
About 40 pounds.
40 pounds of just gunpowder to shoot that projectile out in World War II. He went over to Germany, went over the Seine River, and he always wore his helmet because he was scared of shrapnel. Because we shoot the shrapnel up to knock our planes off up there, it'd come down and hit your helmet. So he was worried about the shrapnel coming down and give him a concussion.
Oh, quite a bit of that, yes.
He's got about 50 tractors down there in Slaughters, Kentucky, that antique tractors, him and his grandson helped keep up and got him in a pole barn down there. They're all running 50 or maybe 70 tractors, I don't know. A lot, like Jerry Sloan did. 55? Okay, sorry, I inflated the number. What did you think about Bucyrus? Did that teach you something about work ethic, and was it a good living for you, Harold?
Make a very good living. You enjoyed going to work each day. Never had any trouble with anyone.
Yeah.
So,
and he made the...
I miss the place.
Yeah,
And
well...
I'd like to thank all you people for getting us together.
So he's been retired 43 years. Longer than he worked there, he's been retired. So that's something, Harold. Thank you for coming today, and thank you for being part of Bucyrus. You're a real icon for the city and icon for Bucyrus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody got questions for Harold? He's a farmer too. He quit farming a year or two ago. He has his whole backyard. My wife had to go farm for him for a long time. And I'll tell you, he knows the work ethic. She never got out of there. She worked 4 or 5 hours. She had all her friends right there. He had everybody working on his farm. And everybody was working. He was supervising. That guy knows how to get labor done for nothing. He had more farming, and finally he quit. Because I think he lost his labor. Yeah. They were striking, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
Could I share something with you guys?
Absolutely. Tell us your name. Tell us your name.
Mary Schneider. I was Delbert Cooper's daughter. You drove or you used cranes, every one that you made or any company made. He was a crane operator only. He would not run a bulldozer or nothing. It had to be a crane. The biggest, the smallest is fine. When he died, he was only 82 or 3. But he talked about this company many, many times and how their cranes were made. And my dad loved to run a crane. He would have been running it to his grave if he could have. Now, he loved everything about your company.
The cranes and the drag lines too, or just mostly the cranes?
He did cranes only.
Yeah.
He would not do a drag line. We had to move to Petersburg, any place or every place, just because they needed him there.
I see.
And I grew up moving around, and Mom would get so mad at him. She'd say, "Can't we stay home and you go?" He said, "No, I'm going to be gone maybe 6 months or a year."
So he did the cranes. There was another guy named Mark.
He was a crane operator. He would not do nothing but run a crane. The largest one ever made, he drove it.
Jim,
And talked about it.
who was the principal? The guy named Mark did trial runs on all your bulldozers. Mark somebody. What's his last name?
Not McDonald.
Yeah, Mark McDonald. He worked out there and would drive all your not tractors, but your bulldozers and things. He said
Where we live?
not where you live, out there at the Bucyrus.
Oh.
He was a test driver for that. But your husband or your dad was essentially the test driver.
My dad was strictly a crane operator. He would not touch a bulldozer or nothing. If they called him and said, "I need you, but you gotta run a bulldozer," he said, "Forget it. I'll start
Well,
first."
crane operator is pretty critical.
Yeah, he was
Very
good.
critical.
He never caused a person to lose their life.
Whatever.
So they were the testers of that to make sure everything was right.
That was a super critical.
Yeah, because that was one of the big sale items for Bucyrus. Linda, did you have anything else to add with what Harold said, or?
No, I think he covered it.
Okay, all right. Now, Darlene, your husband was Marvin Zwahalen, and he's a farmer out in Darmstadt area. Can you tell us, Marvin loved the Bucyrus, and he would work a farm on the side. You know, when he wasn't working at Bucyrus, he was farming, and he farmed all his life. Can you tell us a little bit about his life? And he went to New Salem Church, and you're still a member of New Salem.
Salem Church in Darmstadt. His great-grandfather was one of the founders of Salem Church, so it's been our family for generations. Marvin served in the Army in Korea, and when he came back, I'm thinking it was 1956, he got on at Bucyrus, worked there mainly second shift, sometimes third, so he could farm during the day at the daylight hours. Our farm is out northwest of Darmstadt. Our son now operates it. He's the 5th generation. Marvin enjoyed working at Bucyrus. He was mainly in the machine shop. He did some drafting there, and he also was an inspector for a while. But his love was in the machine shop. And I'm thinking his favorite machine was the turret lathe. Apparently, that was the machine to operate or something. I don't know that much about it, but there was always a group of people that always wanted to work that job, so he was really glad when he finally got that machine. He was one of the last to leave in 1982. There were just a few people left there at Bucyrus when he left. And at that time, then we took over managing the farm from his dad. Although he had always helped him through all the years, but we didn't know what to do when he didn't have a job anymore, so we went full-time farming in it.
What kind of name is that, and how does anybody ever pronounce it right?
Zwalen is how you say it.
Zwalen. Does anybody ever pronounce it right, and what kind of name is that?
It scares people when they see it. It's Switzerland and Germany. His uncle went over to Germany and also to Switzerland, and he said there were a lot of Zwalens in Switzerland, so.
There's a lot of Laupschers in Evansville, and they were from that area too, in that area of town.
He was a great guy.
Laupschers too. Okay, thank you very much, Darlene. Now this is Mr. Helfrich, Stephen, and he worked at USI, built a lot of those. There's about 10 new buildings out of USI, and he helped. There are not 10, but there's a lot of new buildings at USI. It's a beautiful place, and partly because of this man right here. But tell us how Bucyrus helped you learn to be a good worker, and what you did for University of Southern Indiana.
That's correct. So I started at Bucyrus after college. I went to Purdue, and I started in 1972. After I was a homebody, so college, I was ready to come back to Evansville. Lafayette's too far away, too far from family, so I came on back to Evansville and worked for construction. And when I started starving doing that, roofing houses, I went to Bucyrus to get a job. And I told Vinny Snyder that I knew how to run machines, because my dad was still a die maker, so I did some of that. But I didn't tell him I went to Purdue and had a degree, so I started at at Bucyrus in 72, third shift, running turret lathe, 533, so I knew Darlene's husband and several other people.
Marvin.
Yeah, Marvin, your husband. And I followed Richard Mayer on the 533, if you knew him, who Richard eventually turned out to be my brother's father-in-law. So it's a close family here. But I got out of the turret lathe business after I probably scrapped too many parts, I couldn't make the rates, and fell asleep too often in the bathroom on third shift, so they promoted me to dispatcher, second shift dispatcher, And the dispatcher's job was to hand out the different work assignments to all the machine operators. As they finished one job, we punch them out and get them to do work and so forth. So I worked second shift doing that. And I remember Harold, I think didn't they call you a parts chaser? And you go around and try to find all the parts that you needed and try to push them up in front of the others to get them made and so forth. So, but I did the dispatching for a year or so. And then I went into industrial engineering in the machine shop and worked with George Wise, Byron Figley, Al Becker, and my boss was Charlie Rutledge. And so I'd set some rates, as you guys probably know. Really good ones too. So, but eventually in a year or so, the computer age, as Steve was mentioning, started coming around. So I started programming the CNC machinery. So that was my main job, just to write the programs. We put them on tapes, so continuous tapes. So you had to program them, and you put them in a machine and run the machine automatically. So that was pretty scary. We took out a new tape to the people, but it usually worked out. But so I did that. George Weiss was also one of the first to program, so him and I kind of were the first two to program the machines. He did more of the milling, and I did more of the lathes and so forth. So then in '78, the opportunity arose to go to USI, and that's when I left. So.
But USI, probably a lot of the things you learned at Bucyrus helped you create some very beautiful buildings out at USI.
Oh, yeah. And so, yeah, and some of the work I did at Bucyrus helped in the industrial engineering part of it at Bucyrus. It lent itself to design work at USI. You know, I did design some work, small projects, replacement work and at USI, but it definitely helped project management and so forth. And I was, at USI, I started as assistant director of facilities and then became director later. So that was kind of the growth of USI when we kind of set a record, well, probably 15, 20 years ago. We had $75 million worth of construction going on at one time, and that was several projects. Now they get $75 million for one project, so it's a little bit different world there, but we were just growing substantially.
So if you look at USI, the Rice building was one of the first big ones built in about 2005. Then they've got the engineering building out there, the arts building, redo the dome, and now they just did the physical, where you do physical exercise and things. So each building was 30 million, the physical exercise is 50 million. So, or more, 60 million. So all those projects have made a real mark on southwestern Indiana. So Bucyrus is probably a big part of him doing a good job out there.
Yep. So work ethic and so forth.
I'm going to ask
Bucyrus and my dad.
now you stand up, Maria. This is Maria, this is his better half. Maria Topper helped, and Topper is a pretty popular name at the AMP Grocery, but also at Bucyrus. So about 5 Toppers worked at the AMP Grocery. Tell us how long you worked at Bucyrus. You there 40
Well, I
years?
probably had the longest career of anybody at Bucyrus area. I was there from June of '72 to the end of August '72. And I worked in the executive dining room, which I'm sure a lot of your bosses probably ate tomatoes I dropped on the floor. And no, I was a good, I never did anything like that. But my fondest memories of BE would be just from my father's career, Harold Topper. And he was in export sales, is that?
He was my boss, he was exports.
So he, I remember going with my mother when I was just a little girl take him to the train station, which is unfortunately no longer downtown, on his trips to Milwaukee. And he'd always bring me home a little souvenir, so that was always very exciting. And then in the later years, of course, we'd take him to the airport and he'd fly there. He took a trip down to Central America at one point, I think. I still have some of the correspondence he wrote to me from that trip. I should bring that the next time. Like, he candygram he sent me because he was gone on my birthday when I turned maybe 7 years old. So just really some fond memories. And I do remember my brothers. I had two brothers, Steve and Tom, and then my sister Julie and I. My dad would be stuck taking us to the office when he had to go on the weekends and finish up a project or something. And my mom probably just said, look, you're taking these brats with you because I need some time by myself. So we'd go over there with him. And he would buy us a candy bar from the vending machine, but we would get in those office chairs with the wheels and just have these big races all around the office. I just remember how much fun that was. So yeah, I had a lot of fun at PE, and of course they they put food on our table for all of us and sent us to school. So yeah, great place. My father loved it, so thank you.
And her brother was Tom Topper. He was the chairman of the USI Foundation. He was a general surgeon, a vascular surgeon in Evansville. He died in 2009, but he was one of the best surgeons we had in Evansville. And then tremendous musician. He was a man for all seasons. He could play music. He could do everything. And we lost him at a young age. And then a lot of her uncles worked at the AMP Grocery. Let me go over here to Mr. Snyder. Thank you very, very much for it. This is Mr. Snyder. I missed him a minute ago, and he must have been, Mr. Topper was his boss, or you were his boss, or probably he was your boss.
Yeah, Harold was a wonderful guy, and he gave me the best piece of advice I've ever had, because I was debating whether or not to build a house. I was afraid to do it. He said, you gotta do it, it's the best, you need to get invested in a house, and well, I did, and that's good. Anyway, I worked with export parts, and we had machines, every kind of machine we had all over the world, countries all over the world. So it was every time you went to a different country, you had to go through some different kinds of paperwork and whatever. So it was a pretty difficult job. But anyway, took some notes because I'm 89 years old and I don't remember what yesterday was. Anyway, the first job I had was called interpreting, and a parts order would come in, and all the parts of the machines had reference numbers. They didn't have parts numbers. The reason they had reference numbers because as time went on, minor changes happened and that part became somewhat different. Or the customer would order a machine customized. So you couldn't just look up an 88B and get whatever part you wanted, because it's hard telling what it was. So we had all these, and all this was in manual reference, like 3 to 5 cars and this sort of thing. So you had to just chase and chase and chase in order to get the right part, because you didn't want to send the wrong thing down to South America. After the interpreting, which was determining the exact part, then I went into the export part of these parts. And once again, that was the documenting, and I heard you say somebody chasing parts. And the export people and the domestic people were at battle because we wanted our parts, because it took months maybe to get that part to that country. And everybody's wanting to get their parts filled for their people. So we were going out and actually stealing out of the bins. Everything was located in bins all over the place. And we were actually stealing parts sometimes in order to get our order. The plant manager when I was there was named Merle Marks. Anybody remember Merle Marks?
I do.
He is a wonderful guy. And he had me we had movies of this big machine we made. And local organizations would want some entertainment, and he would have me take this movie of this machine, and I would go out and show that movie. the best thing that came out of Bucyrus area for me is two lifelong friends. They were two of my very best friends at a lifetime. One was Bob Leach. Anybody remembers the movie Bob Leach? The other one was Harold, Herman Kramer. Herman Kramer worked over across. Herman was a weird guy. But not only was he weird, but he could do anything. He could take an automobile apart and put it back together. And he's done with some of mine almost that much. What do I have here? I worked there in the early 70s. I don't know how long, I'd have to look it up. But yeah, I personally sent parts to Suriname, which is the northern part of South America, Brazil, which is the largest country in South America, which speaks Portuguese, by the way, and France, or some ones I remember, but anyway, that's what we did. We followed up, and the other thing is, when you sold a new machine, you also, especially overseas, you sold a whole package of parts. And we had a department there that packaged these. They build these huge boxes, line them with waterproof paper, put all the stuff in there and seal them up and ship them out. But that area was real close to our office, and we were following up all the time to try to get my order to this guy. Anyway, I had a good time. I didn't stay there too many years. I was really an accountant by trade, but I ended up there for some other reasons.
And Mr. Snyder, you said about South America, other people could probably answer it. How much did we export to South America? It was mostly Brazil down there for mining and
Almost all of it was for mining. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention. Two machines that we had a lot of orders for, believe it or not, was a water well drill. Anybody know about the water well drill? That's my guy. We've built a lot of water well drills that you still see around. There's still some guys around drilling home water well drills, and the other one was blast hole drills. That was a machine, and almost you'd see on an incline, you couldn't think you could ever get it there. And that machine would get there, and it would drill a hole to put the dynamite in and to blast this wall off. Two weird machines that we did a lot of business with.
Did we do some drilling, have some drillings for oil? That we made some things for home?
I don't think we ever had oil that I'm aware of. An oil drill has three real knobby drills that turn around and around. When that drill turns, well, they just eat up the rock.
Yeah.
And it's
My dad used one of those to drill a well, and so we could have running water at the house and didn't have to carry it up a hill. And he did that.
Gabriel Brothers.
They were sputters. The water well drill is what they call sputters. Right up, boom, boom. And they would actually just knock its way down.
There's a Gabriel Brothers well drilling in St. Phillips. They're out of business now. They passed away, but I think they still have a Bucyrus well driller out there at the shop on the corner road.
You can see one of those water well drills
they said a water well drill made by Bucyrus is out at the 4-H there. Somebody wants to look at it.
Yeah.
Ms. Greenfield,
Oh, yeah?
you got anything to say here?
Oh, I got lots to say.
Okay, stand up, stand up. Stand up and move over that way just so I don't have bad light. Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Perfect.
My name is Pat Greenfield, and I became a member of the Bucyrus Erie family, and I always considered it a family back in 1956, right out of high school. And I closed them down in 82. So I was there off and on all this time. When I first got there, I worked with Millie and Dorothy in the blueprint room, and I did a lot of blueprints.
Yeah.
From there, I went and worked with Virginia Hudson.
What time is it?
She married when she was there, and you all remember Jenny, I'm sure. Let's see. From there, I went and I worked outside Al Thompson's office. And Cliff Townsend, you all know him, I know, because he paid you. But I paid the bills. I audited expense records. And I paid the bills, and they were bunches. I can tell you. I also bowled in their league with Eddie Lynn. And I'm sure you remember Eddie Lynn. Yes. K-ball, I think he was on my team too. He came #1 year. That's a long, long time ago. But I enjoyed everybody there. And I got around to a lot of different people. Some remember me, some don't. But I worked in the office. And I sure enjoyed doing it. I've been retired for 24 years now, but I keep busy because everything I learned at Bucyrus, Erie, working with money, because I always love working with money, I use now at my church. So all that, I'm using. The end.
Gotta go on my chauffeur, got another appointment, so.
Okay, all right. Okay, 1 second. Harold's gonna leave here. Our most senior guy, his chauffeur's leaving, so he's gonna.
Nice to have you people again.
There's Harold. Bye, Harold. Back next year, okay? Okay. Thank you, Harold, for coming.
Before you start this, we're wanting to get everybody that we can that has an email address. Please find your name on this list and put your email address. Postage is outrageous, and we had so many people that we sent postage, sent letters to, and we didn't get back. Most of us didn't send back. We don't know where they are. There's also a sheet that is highlighted if you know any of those people. But we really would appreciate anybody that has an email address to let us have their email address. And I'll leave it on this table up here in the front. So before you leave, if you would please do that. Or if you still have my phone number, you can call me. And, or if you have Dr. Browning's, you can get my phone number or get him an email too. I love doing this. This is wonderful. And when I see so many of you here, and I get to talk to all of you, if I don't have a phone number for you on that mailing list, that's another thing too. Put a phone number on there, because I want to call and make sure that you know when we need again. Okay.
Tell us a little bit about Hawkeye and how much he liked the company. Tell us a little bit about Hawkeye.
I could be here all evening telling you about Hawkeye.
Well, a couple good stories. Two good stories. Two stories. Good ones.
Well, one of his things was, he was a friend to you unless you crossed him in some way, and as good a friend as he could be, he could just be as good at being your company. But one of the things that I used to try to tell him, he was my Arkansas cowboy. And he would say, honesty is the best policy. I said, yeah, but honesty is the best policy. So if you wanted to know something, you better want an honest answer from him and be able to accept it, or you would probably be walking away in tears, because that was the kind of person he was. He just did not want to tell you something that he didn't think was true. I said, it's okay to be honest and tell and all that, but you have to have honesty with a little bit of discretion. So
think before you speak.
I met him through the bowling league too. Pat and I went to Wrights together and graduated from there together, and we both wound up at Bucyrus, Erie. We both wound up in the bowling league, and that was how I first came in contact with. And we went to Tom Memmer's house after a bowling party, and I remember I got my first kiss from my future husband at his back doorstep.
was your fault.
He was a wonderful man.
Whatever.
He was really 15 years older than me. We neither one had any idea that there was that much difference in our age. But he was very fit, very active, and very immature at times. So that's the reason why I told him we kind of met in the middle. I was more mature and he was more immature. Anyway, I went to Wrights High School, graduated from there in '56, walked down to the other end of Claremont and went to work for Bucyrus, Erie in August of '65. I started out in the blueprint too, Dorothy and Millie, thought it was the most wonderful job. We had all these dirty, greasy blueprints, and my job was they would give me a model and a serial number for something or other, or a part or whatever, and they would have listed on there every blueprint that had to go in what they call a traveler. And that traveler followed that job from the beginning to the end. At the beginning, it looked wonderful. By the time it came back to me, I could hardly read the numbers on some of them. But I would take all the blueprints out, and if they were salvageable, I would file them in the file cabinet. If they were not, I would put them on a list. And we had a huge pruning machine that probably would have taken up half of this room, and smelled horrible. It had like some kind of chemical in it. Ammonia, yes. It would put you out. But I finally got to run some blueprints through the pruning machine, and I thought I was really doing something.
That's where they started you out when you first got there.
If you survived that, then they moved you on up.
Oh, there was one thing I forgot to say, is Al Thompson, every day at lunch, we had a half hour for lunch, and his secretary and John Smith, and he was my partner, we played clabber at my desk, so I always had to clean my desk. But the good thing was, if the whistle blew and you still had a hand, you finished that hand. Yeah. No matter what.
Yeah.
Those were the good times. We didn't know it, but they were the good times.
Finally, in the blueprint room, there came an opening in the parts sales department. And thanks to Barbara Myers here, she was getting married to Ralph Myers, who worked out in the shop. And I came upstairs and took her place in the parts sales department. And I stayed there the rest of the time that I worked for Bucyrus, Erie. I took time out in 1965 to have a daughter, and by the time that she was grown up and getting to go to school, I got a surprise call from Bucyrus, Erie, and it was the assistant parts manager there. And he said, "Hey Gail, you know the lady that took your place as secretary up here? Guess what? She's pregnant. Would you like to come back and have a job?" I said, "I sure would." So I went back and I stayed there until they left in '82. And when we were talking about, I thought I had an opportunity. I could have gone to Erie, Pennsylvania. They took people up there, they got apartments for them and everything else. But come to find out, I think Bucyrus Erie really didn't want to sell Evansville. They wanted to sell Erie. But Continental Emsco bought Bucyrus Erie, and they made the oil drills, whatever it was. We made water well drills, and they wanted us because, number one, we were right here on the river where we could go riverboat, truck, airline, right in the center almost of the United States. And we had a lot of, evidently, equipment and machinery and stuff in that plant in Evansville that they wanted Evansville. So thanks to them, they got it. But my husband, they also took over the union contract, and my husband was a shop worker, so he was union. And he said, "Well, I'm not going to Erie, Pennsylvania. I got a job here with Continental Emsco." My daughter said, "I'm going to be a senior in Wrights High School, and I don't want to go to Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm going to go live with Grandma and Grandpa." I thought, "Dale, are you going to Erie, Pennsylvania, that wonderful place where snow is up to here in the wintertime?" No. So I said goodbye to Bucyrus, Erie, the place I thought I would be forever.
Well, didn't we have a place in Pocatello, Iowa?
Yes,
Idaho.
Yes.
For, I don't know how long, but I remember
Richmond, Indiana. The one in Richmond.
That's where they go to grills.
But in Pocatello, over in the state of Washington, Idaho, they made those windmills, that the windmills are very popular now, but I think Bucyrus made some windmills way back, a long time ago.
Well, I remember that because I did some money that I had really out, let's put it that way.
Okay, how about Miss Myers? Maybe Miss Myers, how about anything else, Gail, anything else?
No, that's okay. I did, in 2012, I did lose my husband. And that was a sad day, but I still have a lot of memories. And I just saw him today. He was on, it wasn't when he was talking. If I probably would have kind of not let anybody look that way because no telling what he was talking about. He loved Bucyrus though. And so did I.
It's better lighting there. Yeah. Thank you, Barbara.
My name's Barbara Myers. I graduated from Rice in 1955, but I started at Bucyrus the day after my 18th birthday. Worked half a year of my senior year, walked down the hill, worked. Worked there until I married, 5 years. Ralph started at Bucyrus at 16 in 1943, and he was there in 1982 when they closed. So he was there a lot of years, and in all those years, I think he worked in every department that was there. Because he's told me about all of them, and I can't, obviously I can't tell you what all he did. But I think he was tested, he drove, tested the machines, machine shop, all those things. He too had, when they closed, he had an opportunity to move. And he actually tried to retire from Bucyrus, but Continental went to him. And they said, no, you can't retire from us, but you have a job. So he was there, actually worked for Continental. But I don't think he missed, he didn't, in all the years, I don't think he missed but 3 or 4 days of work. Never complained, it was always good. So I met him as a part of the bowling league, which is these girls call bowling. It was a matchmaking job from his boss. But we were married for almost 60 years when he passed away 4 years ago. Like a month in 60 years. One of the couple of things I remember that were exciting, I was a teletype operator when I worked there. And I had these machines, and I was communicating with all of these different places. Gail and I actually took a train and went to Milwaukee to visit the girls, to meet those girls that I knew just through the teletype thing. And that was quite an experience. Gail and I also, first trip, she was 18, I was 19, I think, and we went to New Orleans for a week's vacation. Never been on our own before at all. We had a great time here. It was fun years.
Well, I'm another one of the 1956 girls. My name is Sylvia Sawyer. I was a Shaw before I was married. And some of you may remember some of the Shaw men that worked in the shop. My dad was Arthur Shaw, worked in the machine shop. And my uncle was, his brother was Herbert Shaw that worked in the wrecking floor. So it was kind of a family thing for me to go out there and go to work. And I graduated from Rice Memorial High School on the east side in 1956. And about 2 weeks later, I went to work for Bucyrus, Erie. also started out in the blueprint room, so I was kind of between these two gals. I think Pat was just ahead of me, and Gail came in behind me.
I started in May of '56.
And I started in June, and then Gail came that summer. But, so we all started out the same way, and then moved on from there. And I moved into material control, and so I spent most of my working years there in material control. Over the time I spent, had jobs in other places too. I worked for a while in the parts department, and I worked for a little while when we had an invoicing department here. We tried that out they sent it down from Milwaukee, and we tried that out for about a year, and they decided, no, we want it back. So they took it back, and they had to find us all new jobs. So I went back to material control, and I stayed there until the place closed in '82. So I was a lifer, I guess you'd say. And for about a year, back in the late '50s, my husband worked there for a summer. He worked as time study and what have you, he just come out of service, and so he was, they just kind of was a flunking, I think. He just, wherever they could find a job. And it didn't last, he got laid off, and so then he went other places. And of course, he's been gone now for 19 years, so it's been a long time. But, so it's always been a family affair for us. Somebody always seemed to be working at Bucyrus, and we loved it. We made a good living for all of us. And they were talking about the strike. I can remember that strike in '48. I was about 10 years old, and my dad was working there at the time, and I can remember that was the first, I guess that was when I was first aware that people worked for a living, and because times got kind of tough, that's the year when he was on strike. But we made it, and I said he made a very good living for all 5 of us kids and Mom, and Mother never had to go to work, and we all had a good life. And so it was a great place to work, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to work there. It's good to see everybody here.
Sylvia, before you sit down, I have a 61-year-old question I want to ask you. And you're the only one who might know.
Ouch.
When you were working in the stock market, do you know what happened to the printout?
Do I know what
Do you
happened?
remember the printout that was this thick that went missing? And I got authorization to start going through people's drawers, looking at people's drawers. Well, it took 2 or 3 days to print the thing. I got authorization to go through, start going through. People had to open their drawers so I could see where that we could find that printout. Never did find it. You know what happened to it?
No, I have no idea.
You sure? You didn't know in the trash, did you?
No. I would never tell.
Good answer.
Never tell.
That's a memory, Mr. Member, 60 years ago, my God.
I got news for you, because I was the one transported back and forth, and they want to know what I did with it, what I left it with.
Where did you use it along the way? What did you use it for?
I don't know. They weren't happy about losing it.
I missed 2 guys over there. Mr. Wiggs, why don't you stand up and tell us, move a little bit over to the left so my lighting's good. That you're right, or yeah, that's it, perfect. Tell us how many years you worked there. And
well, I started July the 22nd, 1974, and my clock number was 8550, I never forget that. I didn't have any pull to get on at Bucyrus, Erie, so I would bug Vinny Schneider and bug him until finally he said, I've got a position open in the janitor position. I said, well, I'll take it. So I got on and cleaned the cafeteria and everything else upstairs. You remember in the machine shop, Sadie Hawkins, yeah, all the ladies that did all the good cooking up there. We'd go there and clean do all the cleaning and everything. But anyhow, after about 6 months, I got on in the machine shop. There was a job that came open, and I ran 869. It was a drill press. And I remember Norm Ryder working over there in the machine shop in different ones. But then I went to engine 444 in the high bay and turned axles, and I followed Red Webfer. I don't know if you remember Red Webfer, but anyhow, worked in the machine shop for 4 years, and then onto the assembly floor and built C machines, the hydraulic machines. And so I've got good memories of that. I really enjoyed all that, the travelers you were talking about, those envelopes. And I know Harold's gone, but if I had on that drill press, if I had a real easy job like making shiv pins, all you had to do on that was drill a hole and run a tap so they could put a grease fitting in there. And we get maybe 6 or 7 minutes to do that. And you'd have 100 pins, you could make good money, like Norm said, on incentives. So you'd be cranking away on that, you know, and then here come old Harold with a hot. It had a red label on that traveler and had hot. That meant that they needed that part. And you had to break your machine down, and you had to run that part, and you'd lose time. And it would make me so mad. But it was all good. It was all good. I just had good, fond memories. Loved hearing all your, Mr. Gibson, everybody. It was fun today. I really enjoyed it. Dr. Browning, appreciate you putting this together. And Gail, this was a great day. Thank you.
Now we've got Mr. Cunningham, we missed him.
Well, first of all, our father worked over there for 30-something years. If you knew a fellow by they called Dagwood, that was him. They had the story of him. We lived across the street on Austin Avenue, and he would get up in the morning, late of course. Mom would have his lunch fixed in a sack, and he would run across the alley in the front gate. And that's why he got his nickname Dagwood. From the comic strip, yeah. But I worked there from 72 to 82. I went in, I was working construction in 72, and for a company that was a traveling company. We were building the GAF building down in Mount Vernon, and the fellow I was working for kept talking about me going with him to the next job, Well, I just, like someone mentioned before, I just got out of the service in 70, and I didn't want to go anywhere else. And I was talking to Dad about it one day, and he said, well, go over and talk to Danny Schneider. He might give you, he can find you something to do. So I went over there one afternoon, and I told him who it was and everything, and he says, you really want to go to work? I said, well, yes. He said, can you come to work tonight? And I said, what? He said, can you come to work tonight? I need somebody on the shipping floor tonight. I said, oh, I got to give him 2 weeks notice. He said, well, I can't hold the job for you. You talked about a man upset. When I went down there and told him I was leaving, he told me everything was white. I left and went in that night and was on the shipping floor, packing your export parts and all kinds of parts that the machine shop made for us. At one time we were told, I think it's in the maybe the middle, late 70s when we were going great guns over there, that the parts department was the best money maker of Bucyrus, Erie. Selling parts.
You can see our prices.
Yeah.
What was that guy sent us a letter once, wasn't it? So Jesse James was a biker compared to us.
Yeah. And then also, another little story our dad told us one time, that starting out the design of the bee machines, they never changed that design from the first time they were built until they quit making them because they were such a good machine. Now they improved on them a little bit as they went along, but he said they stayed the same design, basic design, mechanical over hydraulic, and it was that good of a machine. That's why you see some of them still in, in working order. But I enjoyed my time there. I worked in the erecting floor for a little while, and then I went back over on the shipping floor. But great bunch of people, great place to work. I think if things didn't happen the way they did with the union and everything, I think it would have still been going.
Amen.
Yeah. Thank you.
And it was somewhat like that.
Okay, Stephen, you got something to say there?
Well, I was just gonna say everything was really great. The only bad experience I had was when we worked third shift and all these bowling leagues that they had. And we would work third shift and get off about 7 in the morning and go to the bowling alley. They only sponsored us 1 year because we didn't make it to work the next night. Had a new shirt there and they wore 1 year.
And I don't remember what year, but I remember my boss, Al Tyson. He told me, he said, it's a good thing you were home that Saturday. I was getting out of the top floor three steps at a time, and I'd run right over you. Because it was nothing but glass.
Yeah, it was
1968.
Was it
16? It was on my birthday.
I can remember that because I thought my furnace was exploding.
And what was it, the 70s?